When they get to psychology and the psychiatry confused, you're sick and you can't talk because you're scared. Because when they get to psychology and the psychiatry confused, you're going to get a beat down in a prison when you're sick, right? And that's how they scare you. And it's indicative of prostitution at the beginning. Even if you just say one thing, corn, carrot, even if you just say winter storm or bear or cat, I know you're talking about porno. I know you're talking about ritual prostitution. And the delusion comes from the man's ritual sexual act, right? The ritual sexual act is this cavorting in the street for one letter of computer code that I'm footing over there for you boys, right? I'm gonna foot an A or a nine or a G over there to Ohio and walk it over there for you and walk back over here and walk over there with an H next, please. They do the ritual where they give the caste connection in the sexual ritual in the road at the music festival, where they prey upon the schizophrenic woman while slandering and driving away the schizophrenic man. Because, as you know, all political people, all people who are politicized, all people with strong political opinions have schizophrenia, because simply anyone could misconstrue it if the government doesn't want to say who you are or certify you correctly. You know, a man I do not know decided to do an act of violence in the name of my political party. Not even me, because I'm the one over here telling you about the illusion and the lie and the delusion. They're not doing it to me, they're doing it to some random other liberal, and I'm the one telling you about it. And all you gotta do is put every title of every publication of every citizen who lives in your town in the library computer. Next to Google, next to Twitter, because you don't get to decide if Twitter's good. I think Twitter's very bad and totally useless and uninteresting. Therefore, I'm putting my name next to Twitter in the public library computer. And I have the absolute right to do that because they don't get to decide where you find a church. Because where you find a church is the church. It is the entry point for politics. It's a very small political party that is somewhat more stringent in terms of their belief system, right? They want me to get in on the fuckfest. They want me to join. They say there's no, you can't, if I don't get in on the fuckfest, if that lower third of artificial proletariat who are all sick and disabled, if we don't get in on the fuckfest, the ritual doesn't look right. The delusion looks manifestly insane, right? This is something that they did delusionally in their sexual ritual, mindlessly, as men. And what do they say? They just make this little mistake. Psychology, psychiatry. The bitch is whoever's scared. And like a beast, he go toward that scared girl. Like an animal hunting, right? Why? Because he just smells the fear, right? When I ask a publication for a bibliography and they give me 100 titles, none of which are interesting, I'm done reading that publication. I don't read Google and I don't read Microsoft anymore, and I'm done reading Twitter. I got everything off Twitter that you can. We're not going to do it. We're not going to collaborate with the foreign god and colony destroying your political situation deliberately in order to commodify 5% of political women who have a severe disability caused by men who try to fuck them intentionally, purely caused by a sexual ritual where they threaten to imprison you and fucking kill you so they can fuck your wife in the public school, in the public library, openly, outwardly, provably. The threatening to put you in prison because you're scared is this confusion of psychology and psychiatry, which is themselves a delusion of an instinctual image from the past of how a man would go and cause a sexual awakening in a girl and give her the world of reference, a man, like he used to do once upon a time. And it's instinctual for his ritual sexual act to go that way and for him to develop delusions about that being really the way the world works, when only it is how prostitution works and how disabling political people works. And the political people are the only one disabled because the political people are the only one who understand the meaning of the word used in the advertisement. They blast so much noise. The meaning of the devil is a frequency that works on your brain inimical to word, right? Word is a number of frequencies said into your head that cause you to do something. Well, so is a devil. And they shooting frequencies into your fucking mind in random code signs that cause you to do what they want, but they don't know what those words mean legally. And they're really threatening to kill you, and that's why it helps them convince you to do what you want, right? Your magical priestcraft, where you caused pain by waving your arm or flapping your mouth, only works because you caused fear. And you don't understand that because of your psychological problem and because of their psychiatric, physical problem in their brain, which you just caused as part of your sexual ritual because you imposed a stereotype on a random person in order to suggest that you're allowed to put them in your private secret prison and fuck them to death. And if you don't know the history of slavery, if you don't know the history of the formation of legal systems, the history of fascism, you're not going to hear why the word of the advertiser worked on your brain. You don't know why it worked on your brain. It just had a little influence on you, and then you went and collaborated with the only person you're allowed to work with simply because you can't get the name of anybody else through the library because they think this is the best good popular boy in school from 1999 still. So the government is totally illegitimate. All of them, half of them are incompetent and half of them are criminals. They all deserve to be severely punished for this massive abysmal incompetence in which they said they were capable of running a government. And if you didn't want to understand that the government is establishing a church in order to win the election with the government party, you don't understand the whole concept of psychology. You don't dare talk psychology at me if you ignore illegitimate governments because that's the whole subject matter. Nothing is so urgent and so Nothing is so soothing and so calming to ignore as the mass corruption of 30% of your government and the fact that they have no interest in stopping crime or preventing death. That's what's beyond the mind's capacity to conceive. It's too heavy, and you just don't want to think about it because you're going to mash your head into the wall because you're a psychopath, right? You're worried about the neurosis, but you have a psychological problem because you're afraid of the neurosis. My neurosis goes away in 2 hours. But you're afraid of it, and that causes you to ignore the corruption of the government. And that is the whole of the subject of psychology itself. And if you don't know, if you were ignoring the violations of the First Amendment the whole time, then you don't know anything except how to work your fucking machine and make money for your master. Every guy knows the Freemason gesture, derived gesture from schizophrenia, as if they're doing prostitution, they know the Freemason derived gesture as the way they solicit prostitution. So he gets mad at me because I don't head out there in the road and have a big fuck fest that they planned in my fucking name. He's mad because I don't get in on it and do the cool, super perfect Freemason hand sign so I can pick up chicks in the road when I'm trying to have a fucking political meeting for 10 years and it's systematically made impossible by every prostituter soliciting prostitution in the name of the Freemasons and the liberals. And then, of course, they are latched on to the key words and the culture of our community because they are in physical contact with politicized liberal women. And because they're in physical contact with me, well, I give them all my keywords, which they then imitate and use to pretend they have some kind of political grievance against you, because I have a political grievance, really, and I know who to fight, and I will, when I fucking find out what their name is. And if you want to know whether the person killing you is backed up by the strongest God-given legal argument in history and totally unanimous, overwhelming legal claim that is impossible to ignore and impossible to deny, if you want to know whether the man shooting you in the face is backed up by the liberals and God himself, and the first commandment and the first article and the first amendment of your Constitution, all you had to do to find out whether I want you to die is put my fucking name with my publications on a list. But you didn't want to know. You wanted to demonize and slander the schizophrenic so you could have a big fuck fest.